Good morning. So I wanted to add another tip and trick to your Adobe Photoshop arsenal. And in this one, we're going to be using the Puppet Warp tool. We've tried it in Illustrator a little bit, but this time we're going to use it in Photoshop. And it acts a lot the same way, although setting it up is a little bit different. So I've already downloaded a file, and it's in the assignment, so you'll have to use that photo to download. Once you've downloaded the file, we're going to go to Photoshop and create a new document. So go to File, New. We're going to get into the habit of going to Print, and then the very first preset is Letter. We're going to keep all the options the same, except for the background contents. We're going to turn that to transparent, and then hit Create. With this new document, we're going to go ahead and place our image. So go to File, down to Place Embedded. Go to Larry George II TND, whatever, at Unsplash. Grab the file and hit Place. And then make sure after it's in Photoshop, we hit Enter to actually land it on the page and create a new layer. In your layers, you will see this little icon saying that it's not rasterized, which means it's holding some editing capabilities, restricting some editing capabilities, and I want to get rid of that. So we're going to right click and hit rasterize layer. So make sure we're in the layer name. You're going to right click. So you can't do that on the window. You'll get some different options. So make sure it's on the name of the layer, right click, and then rasterize layer. That little window goes away, allowing us to make all the edits we want. And if you have already done the content aware fill, we're going to do that again. So I want to make sure that we are not removing just him from the background. We're going to be taking him out. We're going to be moving his leg position, his arm and head position. But I don't want to, I want to make sure that we're adding back the sliding door behind him. So if you forgot to do that, forgot how to do that, we're going to go up to Select and then Subject. We're going to get our marching ants around this guy. And before we do anything else, we want to go back up to Select. And this time we're going to go to Modify and then Expand. I would say it doesn't have to be by 15, although it works pretty well for me. So expand by at least 5, but the more image you expand on the outside, the more it's going to cover up this guy with the next layer. So I'm going to go 15. You can zoom in, you can kind of see what's happening. And then we're going to go up to Edit, Content Aware Fill. So it's thinking about, okay, what's in the background? What's it look like? It's doing some math. You can kind of see on the right what it's going to look like. And on the left, we have all this stuff painted in green. That's the source image it's trying to gather information from. We have a plus and a minus, so we can add or take away from this green selection. And I'm just going to get rid of some of it. So I've got my brush set to 290, and I'm just painting away, just getting right around this guy. And then it's going to think, and then it's going to give us a preview. Still, like, you know, it's not 100% clean. You can kind of see maybe there's something there, but it's okay. I think this is going to work out okay. So then when we're ready, we're going to in the output settings, output to new layer. So this isn't going to destroy this original guy. It's going to add a layer to cover up where he's at. So I'm going to hit OK. It's going to think, and then it's going to add a layer. If I turn this original layer off, you can kind of see this is the layer it just created for us. So it's covering up the guy. If I cover that one up or hide that one, we can still see our guy. So I want to do an image or a select subject again, but I don't want to expand anymore. I want to have it right around the edge. So I want to get rid of the existing marching ants. Control D will do that. And then I'm going to select again. So I'm going to get on the original layer, go up to select, go to subject. It will select our guy again. And now I just want to copy and paste. So I just want to have another layer with this guy. So Control C, Control V. You can see it added a layer. I can turn that layer off, and so now we have this guy just by himself. And let's go ahead and just name these things now. So I'm going to turn all the layers on. I'm going to take this layer 1, move it to the top. So now he's in front all by himself. Let's name these layers so we know what we're looking at. Double click on the name. I'm going to call him Jumpman. The second layer, I'll say Jumpman cover. And then the last layer, we'll say background. Okay, so now we have all these layers named. We got this guy, we can move him around. It doesn't even look like he was there originally. So everything's looking really good so far. All right, now the Puppet Warp tool. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And with the Jumpman layer selected, we're going to go up to Edit, and then down to Puppet Warp. So Edit to Puppet Warp, and what it's going to do is going to give us some like triangles. You know, these are a bunch of lines that that Photoshop is going to help us use to maneuver this guy's positioning. We have our little pin, and we're going to drop pins, and the positioning of these pins is important because that's where we're going to make our moves. So kind of like at the joints, at the hip, so knees, hip, shoulder, maybe even elbow, head. Let's make some pins. So you don't want to go crazy making a bunch of pins, but I'm going to drop one at the kneecap. I'm going to drop one at his hip. I'm going to drop one at his shoulder. I'm going to drop one at his elbow. And drop one at his head. I could do this elbow, this hand. I mean, if I really wanted to maneuver this guy around, I could. Okay, so these pins now we can take and we can move this guy. I mean, which in itself is pretty cool. You're manipulating a photo, adjusting positioning. You know, you can see that the pins that I dropped, they're kind of holding that photo in place for the most part. So, you know, it's adjusting everything else along with that, which is really cool. So by just grabbing a pin and moving it, that's part of what those pins do. The second option is, I'm going to click on his knee. If I hold Alt and then hover just outside of that pin, I get a little rounded arrow, and then we can rotate that pin. So changes position, and you know, it's not a perfect science. It's going to distort, of course, but we want to just change his position, and we want him to look as natural as possible, knowing that it's not going to be 100%. And so I think in use case, like if we're really doing this purposefully, big movements probably don't work. It's kind of like subtle movements work better. So you don't want to drastically change where this guy is sitting. But if we need to make minor adjustments to make him look more natural or put him in a position that we want him to be in, which is better for a photo or editing or something like that, then that's what this is used for. If you drop a pin and you don't want it there, you're like, oops, now it's making a bunch of weird stuff. You can click on the pin and then hit backspace or delete, and it will delete that pin. Okay, I'm going to apply those. I'm just going to move him down and out of the way, maybe over here. And then I'm going to turn the original on so we can see how much we've moved him. It's pretty good. If I wanted to go back in there and make some other adjustments, of course, you can. Maybe trying to move his leg down a little bit farther, or his head rotated up a little bit more, so he's kind of looking a little more towards the street. But there you go. I'm going to turn that guy off. You could also add a drop shadow. You could add text behind the guy, or logos, or whatever. So there's lots you could do. Okay, last step. I want to select more than one layer. And there's a couple ways we could do it. I have your move tool. From outside of your artboard, you can click and drag. And as long as you're dragging through multiple layers, you're going to select them. So if I unselect, click and drag through, you can see I've just selected those two. I want to grab everything. I can select everything, grabbed all three. I just want to select one. I can click on it. It just selects one. I want to, there's another way too. I just want Jumpman cover and background. So even if you click on those layers, hold shift, click on what layers you want to select, it's going to grab them both. And then I'm just going to increase the size of that background and Jumpman cover, fill up the page. There you go. That's it. All right, so from here, we're going to save it. So make sure you save to the web. We're going to go File, Save As. We're going to name this Jumpman Puppet Warp. And then save. And then, of course, you're going to save it as an Adobe PDF to get this thing turned in. Make it yours. Add more to this. I love giving extra credit. So let me see what you got. Thank you, guys.